on Daily Fantasy Football, look no further.
He's in! Patriots win the Super Bowl!
The stats have been compiled. The research is done. So come on and win a mill with D-Will.
Hey, what's up? It's your boy D-Will, and it is another week of Daily Fantasy Football. Week 5. Are you ready? Let me just tell you this right now. If you didn't win any money with the 217 points that I gave you last week, I don't know what you're doing. Like, I really can't help you out much. I'm telling you that you should really start to pay attention to a lot of the things that I'm saying to you. Start looking at the statistics. Look at what defenses are good against the quarterbacks, against running backs, against wide receivers, against tight ends. Start making your decisions there. But I gave you 217 points last week. You should have been able to walk away with some money, $500, $600, $700, somewhere around that range. That's what you should have made if you were listening. If you weren't, definitely pay attention this week because we're going after some more money. Week 5. Are you ready? We're going to start with quarterbacks like we always do. And my quarterback pick for this week is Matt Ryan. And why Matt Ryan? Because Pittsburgh is the worst defense against quarterbacks in fantasy football. Matt Ryan is like number 3, somewhere around there. As far as quarterbacks, I don't have it directly in front of me, but I'll have it looked up here in a second. But Matt Ryan going against a horrible Pittsburgh defense against quarterbacks right now. They're just, I mean, I'm not used to Pittsburgh being this bad against anybody. I'm just not. I would have assumed that Pittsburgh would have a good defense. They don't. I don't know why I assume it. I just feel like that's what they should have. But they don't have a good defense. Matt Ryan, I just looked it up. He's number 2 when you rank him by fantasy points in the main slate. Again, there's a couple of quarterbacks that's not there. I know Ryan Fitzpatrick, I believe, is actually number 2, but Matt Ryan in just the main slate is the number 2 quarterback. Why wouldn't you go with him against Pittsburgh? I do like Patrick Mahomes, who is the number 1 point scorer so far this year. And as I mentioned a few weeks back, Patrick Mahomes isn't going anywhere. I mean, he's thrown passes all his life. I think I put up a stat, and I don't want to misquote it, but I do believe it was like 77 passes or 80 something passes in one game. He had over 700 yards when he was in college. This young man can throw the ball and throw the ball a lot. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. I do also like Cam Newton going against the Giants this week. I'm not sure how many teams I'm going to actually put him in, but I know he can do it with his legs and in the air, going against the Giants team that's not really all that good. I mean, they actually made Dak Prescott look good, and I am not a Dak Prescott fan. So I do like Cam Newton going into the game against the Giants. So those are going to be the 3 quarterbacks that I'm looking at. And now we're going to move into running backs. Running backs is kind of the same thought process. I'm going with James Conner. I've told y'all a couple of weeks, and people are starting to, why do you keep going with James Conner? Look, James Conner is the running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the running back from the Pittsburgh Steelers is going to get the ball. More importantly, the Atlanta Falcons are the number 3 worst defense against running backs. Why wouldn't I make the assumption that James Conner is going to be able to score points this week? You got to give him a shot. Somebody else that you want to look at, depending on his ability to stay healthy, Matt Breida this week is playing against Arizona. Arizona is the worst defense against running backs in fantasy football. And if he is actually healthy and playing, Matt Breida is going to be able to score points in the air and on the ground. And he's someone that you'd want to include in your team for this week. Austin Eckler is another good one against against Oakland. I do apologize. Against Oakland, Austin Eckler is going to be able to get those passes, and again against running backs against Oakland this particular week. So my 3 running backs that I were looking at: James Conner, Matt Breida, Austin Eckler. Those are the 3 that you want to take a look at. Moving on to wide receiver, Adam Thielen with Minnesota is going to be my number one choice. I'm using some of the same tactics. I think you should be able to start to pay attention to what I'm doing right now. Philadelphia is number 4 against wide receivers. Their defense is. Somebody else that you may want to look at is Stephon Diggs, also playing for Minnesota. Either one of those two guys, because they are both so explosive. They are definitely someone that you want to look at, possibly utilizing this week. You may also want to look at, I was going to say the Minnesota quarterback, but never mind. I've been burnt too many times there. So let's just keep going down where we are. I do like Juju Smith-Schuster. He is another wide receiver that I would take a close look at this week going against Atlanta. Atlanta's pass defense is number 6 worst in the league, and Juju is the one that's really being able to get those big yardage plays and get into the end zone. People are kind of doubling Antonio Brown, so Juju is the one that's actually getting those touches and those catches. As far as another big money wide receiver, Julio Jones. This may be the week to look at Julio Jones. I mean, he's going against Pittsburgh. We've already discussed Pittsburgh's defense this year against quarterbacks, where they're number 2 against wide receivers. And Julio Jones has a good opportunity to be able to explode in one of those big games this week. This may be the game that he does it. If he doesn't, somebody else you may want to look at, and an opportunity where you're saying, okay, look, I can't afford Adam Thielen and Julio Jones. It just isn't a possibility. Julio is $8,500. I can't fit him in. You may want to try Calvin Ridley. Over the last 2 weeks, I think he has 11 touchdowns. And again, Atlanta is going against Pittsburgh, who's giving up touchdowns, giving up points. Those will be the two that I looked at. Not in the main slate, but if you're playing a full slate, then you may want to take a look at the rookie over at Houston. I'm not going to spend too much time with him, but even though they're playing the Cowboys have a decent, respectable pass defense this year, which is hard for me to say because they haven't always had that, but he's doing pretty good. John Brown with Baltimore going against Cleveland is another good one that you may want to take a look at. Cleveland is right there on the edge. I mean, they're number 10 worst defenses against wide receivers, so I would definitely take a look at them as well. We're moving into our tight ends at this point, and there's only really 2 tight ends that I'm utilizing, and they're getting me points. Jared Cook actually got me over 30 points, or maybe it was 24 or 20-something points last week. Travis Kelce is another one that is getting points. Those are the 2 wide receivers that you should take a look at pretty consistently. I mean, there's a couple other guys that kind of pop up here and there, but those guys are going to continue to get you multiple points. We talked about last week, trying to get to 20 points per position, hoping that you get to 30 points per position, or at least a number of your positions get to 30 and all of your positions get to 20. Obviously, we understand that's difficult with the defenses. There are some people who are great at picking defenses. I'm going with the Jets defense this week because they have an opportunity to somehow they get these interceptions and sacks and things of that nature. Those are the things I look at on defenses, but then I'm also normally trying to fit in some of my other players where I'm looking at. I think even with the 217 points last week, my defense only got me 7 points. And that's just kind of how it is. You do want to look at people who can get you sacks and interceptions. Those people who are creating turnovers, those people who are getting sacks, those are the ones that's really getting you points. Obviously, outside of being able to shut down defenses, is so hard this year. I mean, shutting down a defense when you can't tackle a quarterback it is quite difficult. So I don't know what to tell you as far as the defenses are concerned, but I am going with the Jets again this week. So there you have it. Again, 217 points last week. If you didn't win the money, then that is all your fault. It's definitely not mine because I got my money. So, hey, if you have any questions, continue to go to my Instagram page. It's I Heard D Will, IHEARD DWILL. A lot of times I make some last minute adjustments. Somebody that I ended up studying about that I didn't mention in the show, you can always catch those online. Plus, you can ask me any questions. You can either challenge me for some money. I actually gave away $3 last week from somebody who challenged me, and they actually were able to beat me. So I'm pretty upset about that. But you can do the exact same thing. You can find me on DraftKings at I Heard D Will. You can find me on Instagram as well, I Heard D Will. I'll holler at you guys next week. It's Win a Mill with D Will, and I'm out.